Hello everybody, this is Yuri and I just wanted to present you something that I was working on and that perhaps will allow you to play all the versions of Heavy Gear, the RPG, especially the RPG, which is by far my favorite RPG of all times, especially the second edition with its unique rules and as such. I made something that will allow you to play over the internet using Skype and software called Maptool. Now, what is Maptool? It is a tabletop role-playing software created and it's absolutely free to distribute and download, and also open source based on Java. It's something created for the role players to meet up in the internet, and I know perhaps you experience it on your own, whereas you wanted to host some game or run some specific campaign. I don't know, name the game you want. Warhammer, D&D is not a problem, Savage Worlds, something, and you couldn't find a team to play with within your closest vicinity or your town. The same goes for Heavy Gear, which perhaps is quite popular in Canada and in North America, but it is very hard to find players actually in Europe, especially in Eastern Europe where I come from. And I thought, how about I make something, I contribute to the community by allowing people to actually play the good old second edition incarnation, the old school Heavy Gear, without need to force your friends to buy miniatures. Of course, don't get me wrong, nothing against tactical war games. I love them personally, and I really wanted to collect Heavy Gear, but the thing is, I know like 2-3 people in Poland that either played this game or ever considered playing this game, but never had a chance to play it like big time, right? The problem with niche games is that you have a lot of them, and it is very hard to it is very hard decision to invest money into something that you know you wouldn't really play a lot around, at least. Now there is Heavy Gear Blitz, right? It is currently supported by Dreampod 9, and I really liked it. I really liked Heavy Gear Blitz, but my true love belongs to Heavy Gear 2nd edition. I love the fact that you had all those fancy vehicle cards with all the fancy stats and really plastic and elastic and flexible, and it was, my god, the battle was so intense. I understand why Dreampod 9 went toward more fast and dynamic war game with Heavy Gear Blitz, but well, I have this certain longing towards the 2nd edition, and because of that, because I thought, well, you see, there is not a lot of chance to play Heavy Gear RPG and maybe 2nd edition, well, I will make a campaign, a sample campaign that every one of you can download, run using Maptool, and perhaps some LAN hosting device like Commodore or Hamachi, to play with your friends and actually have a decent RPG sessions and decent tactical encounters with the 2nd edition rules. Now, I understand also why the 2nd edition was abandoned in favor of more dynamic gameplay. Second edition had a lot to do with really a lot of modifiers and a ton of little bonuses, penalties. You know, you had to keep track of so many things. However, it allowed for small forces, for like 1 or 2 squadrons of gears on each side, to be really heavy on tactics and really, you know, big tactical game with just so few models. I like that idea. But indeed, the calculations and going through all those attack charts and defense charts and all other charts was really really took a lot of time. For instance, rolling initiative every round in roleplay rules, right? It took a lot of time to sort all the characters in the combat, and I came up with a solution of scripted macros that will allow you to play with whatever characters you want, to create them according to the rule books, to create your character sheet and transfer the stats to the token, like here, Major Jana Augusta, Lyle Vernon. You know those guys probably from Jungle Drums. Those are sample characters, and you see you can transfer all of their stats to the token, and token has and campaign property in the software has its own macros that I've written to keep track of many modifiers and many things that will really make your combat more and more dynamic. And this is what we really want to achieve, right? So, to begin with, what do you need? First of all, buy yourself second edition rulebook, which you can get on RPG Now or RPG Drive-Thru for really decent price. And I've recently bought, I think, the last book, which was the story line book from the second edition, and I got all the campaigns, all the source books, and you can get them really cheaply. And this is a great and seriously, me and my team of players have a lot of fun. I'm hosting podcasts of our gameplay sessions on my channel. However, it is in Polish, so tough luck. But we are playing Heavy Gear, second edition roleplay, mixed with tactical. We are having battles with gears, and we are having a shitload of fun. If you would like to take part in it, or you want to, I don't know, play it with your friends, you always wanted to play it with your friends, but, well, you couldn't find anyone, you can easily chat up someone on the internet, on the forum of the community, and perhaps set yourself up a team, meet on Skype, host a session on a map tool, load a campaign, and play. In this tutorial, I'm gonna explain how to run a campaign with a set of macros I prepared, and this little thing I got here. How to operate with Maptool, how to change and write macros, what else is there to do. The system is almost whole ready, with minor exceptions, but those are things I'm gonna leave for now until I get more knowledge and experience with macro writing. So I'm gonna tell you what for now is finished and what there is yet to do. So let's begin. Okay, so let's start with describing some features that we have here. Well, what can you expect? When you create a character according to the rules, you will need some basic tools to prepare yourself for an online session. First, let's talk about some software, of course. I would recommend a program called Foxit Reader, which is this. You can get it free, and it is a PDF reader that allows you for a couple very fancy things. First of all, let's look at a character sheet of one of my players. This is a character of James Haney, and as you can see, it's all filled out. Of course, I wasn't filling it out in Paint or something. No, Foxit Reader allows you to use this typewriter tool to adjust and fix things on your character sheet. For instance, write new kinds of weapons, write everything you basically need, all the fancy numbers. Let's say, I don't know, what can James need? Sniping skill, he has that. Throwing skill, yeah. He completely forget about throwing, and grenades will land at his feet probably. So we mark typewriter, click, boom, throwing. Right? It's very easy to format, to manage. You can enlarge the font size. You can write here a corresponding attribute according to the Heavy Gear rulebook. Mark if it's complex skill, mark skill level, attribute bonus, everything you want, right? It's very easy to navigate and has some very cool features, because you don't need to basically mess everything up with Adobe PDF Acrobat Reader. All you need is this Foxit Reader. It works really well. It allows you to paste in some pictures, to mess around with the character sheet, to change everything if you need. It's very comfortable. The same goes with vehicle record sheets, right? When you got an empty one, you can fill it up really easily, allowing you to customize your gears. Sorry, had to drink. And if you have the proper support guides, even create your own gear from the bottom. So it's very comfortable tool. Now, the best thing about Foxit Reader is that it has, this is the rulebook by the way, it has this one thing, snapshot tool, which allows you to mark an area and copy selected graphic. Let's say I will paste now this graphic into a handout. Boom. Let's name it something stupid, of course, DDD. That's it. And we can draw this table. That if you think there is some really important rule in the rule book and you constantly keep forgetting it, you can select background layer, so it'll fit in the background. All the moving objects won't interact with it, and draw it like here. Just drop it on your game board, so to speak. Now we have all the terrain costs ready, and this is how I did all those tables, right? The map, all those charts, and all the little things that we really often refer to weapon types, especially maneuvering, movement costs, and so forth, right? What next? If you have the Foxit Reader to manage your campaign, to manage your books and character sheets, what you will need is to then translate all the character attributes, or at least the basic attributes, or the most used one, to those tokens. Now, how you make tokens, you may ask. You can get any possible picture and manage it, and cut it into a circle, into a hex or whatever, with a software named Token Tool, which also you can get on the same page, on the same site. You can get a map tool from. Dropping tokens and creating characters is really easy. After you've done with character creation, the number wise from the rulebook, all you need is, now let's get the token. Sorry, not this one. Yes, token. And after marking certain layer, now you can see background layer in Maptool is everything that lies on the bottom, right? And now I cannot interact with tokens. I can only move those things that belong to background layer. Object layer is something else. Of course, you can, let's say you're making yourself a map, you can place buildings, you can place wrecked vehicles, obstacles, and such. Or some markers that, should you wish to implement those. And tokens, now tokens are really fancy things. Those are the things that belong to players and players interact with. Now let's drop James as a token. Now as you can see, basically his token is empty. On the left, right, you can see all the shortcuts from the attributes, both primary and secondary, flesh wounds and flesh wounds with armor, health penalty, and speed. Right? Now, first thing you'll notice is that all those things are kinda set, right? Agility on 0, appearance, build, blah blah blah. And why not flesh wounds, deep wounds, instant death, and things like that? It's all because I've already included some basic scripts in the campaign properties, right? So from the get-go, as we drop the token, all the calculations needed for those things like stamina, strength, health, flesh wound threshold, deep wound, and such are already counted. Thus, all we really need to fill out is the attributes, the basic primary attributes and skill values for each token specifically. So let's do that exactly. James, of course, let's target him as PC. Now, in the config menu, you can switch properties, right? Basic belong to the characters, to the players, to the humans, and such, to the living beings, so to speak. Machines belong to all the mechanical creations, right? Gears, tanks, and such, and we will discuss that in a moment. But remember to switch the properties for the token you are using. So back to the basics, and now James has agility of +2, creativity +1, knowledge +1, and perception +1. So let's fix that. 2, creativity 1, knowledge 1, perception 1. Okay, let's save it, and as you can see, it already takes effect. In the reference window on the right from the token, you can see that all the values have changed. Now, to show you that those scripts actually work, let's change some attribute that actually affect a lot, and that would be build and fitness, which will increase strength. Let's set build to 2 and fitness to also. Now, as you can see, unarmed damage and armed damage has risen. Strength value also, as the stamina and flesh wounds, deep wounds, and instant death thresholds. Now, this all means, of course, that also speed increased, and everything is done automatically. You don't need to bother with calculating each token separately. Should you also think of some cool enemy for your team, just adjust those values as you see fit, and there you go, everything is done for you. All those calculations are being run on its own, right? Now, what we have here, those are combat and often used skills. This is something that we really need to include from the character sheet, because those tests will be made most of the time. Now, the rest of the skills I didn't really experiment with writing macros for, because they are used really seldom, and should you wish to test such a skill, there is an opened test macro to do that, and you can just read the values from a character sheet. This is no problem, because this does not take much time in battle, in combat. The combat skills, of course, need some proper calculations, because those are the most heavy on calculations during a combat. So the dodge is 3 + 2. Of course, we don't need to add +2, because the macros will already count it for us. So dodge 3, combat sense. What do you have a combat sense, you bloody bastard? Oh yeah, combat sense 3. Hand to hand is 2. Melee 2. Notice skill, which is very often used against sneaking characters. Also, quite useful during combat. Okay, what else? Small arms, sniping, throwing. Small arms 2, sniping 1, throwing 0. Leave 0, and that will mean the skill is untrained. If you are familiar with silhouette rules, that means you are rolling 2 dice and choose the lower result. Stealth. Stealth is something James is good with. Stealth 2. Tactics. Tactics. No, he does not. Oh, yes, he has tactics on level 2. And leadership 1. Okay, that is everything we actually need, right? And everything will be stored on a token. All those basic modifiers or those skill values are stored on a token. Now what we need is to add some macros. Now I will add 2 sets of macros and they will come with the campaign. Now what you can do is you can either download them and implement them yourself, or use one of the sample tokens and right click anywhere in the selection window. If the selection window is not chosen, then you won't have this this window here. So from the window menu, be sure to activate the selected window. That means every token you select as a player and that you have an ownership rights for will have this selection window with tokens and with macros, of course, and also initiative window, which is very handy to keep track of. Now what you can do is right click here, export set of macros, and this is my random folder. Let's call it heavy gear character macros, and save. Right? Now what I need to do is right click and import the set of macros, and here I got heavy gear character macros. Boom. Give it a little bit time to load, and here we have it. Now how does those macros work? The macro will read the value of the skill, for instance small arms, roll the number of dice, right, equal to the value of the skill, unless it is of course 0, which will roll 2 dices, and it's a lot of talking, right, but you get the gist. And then it will apply a modifier minus health penalties, minus action penalty for bonus actions, and minus speed penalty in case of attack rolls. Now let's see how it works. So James makes a random small arms attack, and boom, the macro generated from a skill value of 2 dice rolls, 5 and 4, plus agility modifier 2 equals 7. Just to make it more visual, I've created a small set of visual tables to you know, for you to see better. And this is the basic, right? Now if you're rolling on untrained skill like heavy weapons for James, he does not have heavy weapons, as I presume. No, he does not have this skill. Cool. Look, the macro rolled 1 and 6, adds 2. However, because it is an untrained skill, the macro will read the result as 0, and it will show you 0. It saves a lot of time, and all is done automatically, right? Same go for defense and parry and whatever you may ask for. Notice check, combat sense check, stealth check. You see, in case of combat sense, which James has on level 3, it rolled 3 separate results, adds a modifier, and there you have it. It's 7. Now here is what I told you about. This macro is used for open tests, like let's say James want to use I don't know, etiquette, right? So he looks at his character sheet. It is not a very important combat skill, so it does not need to be a specific macro. He checks his etiquette on the character sheet. It's 2 plus influence, but he has no influence attribute modifier. So he opens this menu, types how many dice he rolls, which in his case is 2, and press enter. And the macro will roll simple 2 dices, right? 5 and 1. So he takes the high one. This is fairly simple, I guess. Now let's skip to the fancier stuff. If you're familiar with Silhouette from 2nd edition, you're also familiar with bonus actions per round and combat stress penalties. Every character is allowed to have 1 action per round. Should it be shooting or, I don't know, climbing a ladder, doing some fancy stuff, it's up to you. But if you want to shoot twice or attack twice, I don't know, make an acrobatics check while jumping over a crevice and then slice a guy with a machete, you need to take a bonus action. So in case of initiative and all the fancy stuff, right? You make you take the bonus actions in a declaration phase, which is at the beginning of each round. Everyone says, okay, well, I need to, I don't know, roll over that car, race towards an obstacle, towards some cover, and open fire at some bastard, right? So, because depending on how you play, movement is free, but the absorbing tests, of course, demand some action focus. You will take, we will take 1 bonus action, and as you press this button, bonus action 1, 2, or 3, you will get specific markers that will help you keep track of everything you declared. Now let's move back to 1 bonus action. So James goes, rolls over a car, climbs a ladder, and then tries to shoot. Of course, he can also set his speed. As for now, he's stationary, but should he be jogging, walking, running, or sprinting, he'll need to press one of those macros, right? Let's say he's walking. You can see a small chevron representing the lowest speed, right? And here you have, just on the left, as you set your mouse on the token, this window pops out. You can check how far you can go. So here we are stuck to the hex grid, but we can snap out of the grid and draw James like 8 meters. There we have it. That's about as far as he would walk within his turn, right? And now he shoots. Now look what happens. The bonus action penalty is already included in his small arms test. Should I reset the bonus action, right? Look, his roll would be with a modifier +1 for his agility. Now, should he be stationary, he would receive also another +1 bonus for being a stationary attacker, right? Because when you shoot in or fight in Silhouette, you get +1 or -1 or whatever penalty or bonus for a specific state you are in. Now, this of course takes quite some time if you're not familiar with the system during a combat and you need to backtrack a lot. Wait, have you moved? How far? How fast? You took 2 actions or 1 action? And so on and so on. And so it drags the battle and combat. Thanks to this, those macros that will keep the track for you, you can pretty much make it more automatic. Now the same thing goes for combat stress, which represents in silhouette, if you are attacked, you place a specific marker, right? Combat stress. That means you were attacked once in this round and you already rolled for defensive. Each time you are attacked, just press this combat stress marker. Combat stress 1 means you were attacked once, and well, let's erase that and look. Dodge skill. Now James is quite good with dodging. He has the skill value of 3, which means he rolls 3 dice, adds his agility modifier, his speed modifiers, of course, everything included, and then this is the final result. But should he be under combat stress, that means he was attacked once and he defended, when he tries to dodge again, as you can see, this bonus now disappears. It's because he was already attacked. We put the combat stress marker 2, and now against the third attack he tries to evade, it's actually a penalty of -1. And should he try to evade even once more, now the penalty grows and grows, right? Until he finally succumbs and has no strength to defend himself. And after each round is over, you just press reset combat stress. That's it. The same things go for all the modifiers, and let's say James is on a combat stress of 3, but he was sprinting this round, which shows 4 chevrons. This is an extreme speed of 25 meters around. Now this means that now when he makes a dodge, he actually gets +1 because sprinting gives you a +2 bonus. So it's kind of you know, it replaces itself with the specific values you have on your token. And also what is a drawback now, it's almost impossible to hit. So if James was sprinting, he'll get a speed penalty to attack -2. Well, it's a fumble, so whatever, but here -2, it's free. It's pretty damn awful shot. So after all is done, you need to reset bonus actions, combat stress, and change the speed according to what you want, right? Stationary, walking, jogging, running, and sprinting. What is more? Yes, if your character is behind the cover, you can of course place specific markers like +1 to defense. I didn't include that in a macro to count the final defense roll, because it really depends on how your character is placed. Like, oh, this is another fancy feature of map tools. You can draw, like this is a short wall, right? And James just run against the wall. Let's say it's a heavy cover. A heavy cover, you get this shield +3, and against every enemy that attacks him from here, he will get this cover bonus, but not someone who attacks him from the other directions. Well, that's why I didn't include that in the defense modifiers, right? What else? Press in the open to erase that. What we have now. Each time you take a wound or some sort of damage, you check this damage with the thresholds again on your left. Flesh wounds, deep wounds, instant death. If somebody scores a flesh wound on you, you press this button, which wounds taken, and the value for damage taken, you type 1. As you can see, now the macro reads system shock points drop from 5 to 4. And because James only had 5 system shock points, he will start losing, he will start getting some serious penalties on his tests. Now let's see how his small arms is doing. Right? As you can see, the macro includes the health penalties, as is written in the rules for almost each wound he takes. Now, if he takes serious wounds or heavy wounds, you just type value of 2. Now his system shock points drop from 4 to 2, and his health penalties is now -3. If he tries to attack, you can see all his agility bonus has been eaten and reduced to -1. He can still shoot, but he's in really bad shape. Now we can also make consciousness test, which happens you must do automatically after getting hit each time in a combat. Of course, it's a test against threshold of 1, and it includes your health bonus minus health penalties. So you need just 1, right? You need just 1 to succeed. But should James take, for instance, 1 more wound, which pretty much takes him down to almost being dead. Wow, he made it, now he didn't. That means he falls unconscious. I will work on the macro to mark him as unconscious, but you get the gist, right? Okay, how you heal the token? You can either edit the values. Sorry, can either edit the values here, but it takes a lot of time, and you can mess something up. So don't do that. Just press the wounds taken and I know, -million, right? And of course James will go automatically back to 5 system shock points, because this is maximum from him for him. So it is impossible to heal a character for more system shock points than the character has within its physical limits. You can also equip an armor by setting the armor value just on the bottom here. Set equipped armor value. Let's give him 15 armor points. Now, as you can see on the left, again, there are 2 set of values: flesh wound, deep wound, instant death, and armor flesh wounds, armor deep wounds, armor instant death. Now all those values already include the set armor value. So should James get into a medium flak suit, which has the armor value or armor rating of 20, just, you know, click it, set 20, and there you have it. It's already counted for. So now the thresholds have changed and James is quite much more durable. Now for the best part of this. Let's erase this little wall. You can read or look up some Maptool map making videos on your own. There's plenty of them on YouTube, which I strongly recommend you checking out. But for now, let's concentrate on different things, especially the very frustrating aspect of the old school second edition heavy gear. One can ask what this aspect is. Well, it's namely keeping the track of initiative. Now, this is by far my favorite change that this campaign and Maptools allows, is to make a game more way more fast. Let's snap James to grid, which means he will now move on hexes, and as you can see, the program keeps track of hexes that you moved, and by pressing right mouse button here, you can select show path, which will indicate last move of your character. So if you want to keep track of how many hexes they moved, so you can apply modifiers, there you have it. Keep in mind though, it only keeps track of your last movement. So if you move like, okay, I'm gonna move 3 here and 3 here, it'll only keep track of 3 last hexes moved. You can also deactivate it by the same button. Now let's put James, Lyle, and let's say Major Augusta against Colonel Proust, and couple of Proust soldiers. And just to make this funny, let's put Ali in. Yeah, Ali. If you play jungle drums, you know this guy. He likes iguanas. Now, we have here is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 characters. You can imagine how long it takes in basic second edition to keep track of all the initiative, right? Now, with these tools I give you, it's so fucking simple. It's so simple. Ah, yeah, let's move the GM token up. It's so simple. All you got to do is to select all the tokens that take part in a combat. As you can see now in selected menu, you have first standard macros for all the tokens, right? This is the common for all the tokens, and then you have macros for all particular tokens in selected group. What interests you is this section from the first, right, for all selected tokens. Initiative. Tactical initiative is the role from leadership, and it's more for tactical combat, but for RP and simple brawling, like street shootout and things like that, firefight every now and then, this is what interests you. Select all the tokens and press initiative. Boom! And you got every single token in initiative window segregated from top to bottom with a single button. Now you can press next and see which token moves or what, right? The round goes on, and if the round is over, you can again go back, select everyone, and press another one, initiative order. And as you can see, now James is on the bottom, Major is on the top, as well as Colonel. Again, let's do the same thing. Now Colonel Proust is on the top, with Major and his soldiers. Oh, and Ali fumbled. He rolled and he has a 0. That means he either loses an action or does not act in this initiative order. It's so simple, it takes so little time that now you can have quite massive battles, I guess. And well, with all those characters, stats really taken care of, because all the bookkeeping is already made for you. Now what you need to remember is that a couple things haven't been made yet, but I'm working on them. Now ranges. It depends on your character sheet what kind of range thresholds your weapon has. So this is what you have to count on yourself, but and keep track of, right? And the ranges are pretty standard, simple. Attacker's movement, it's being dealt with. Intoxications, nobody uses that, so fuck it. Lightning, it's applied to everyone, but again, this is what you need to keep track of. Aiming, also, this is what you need to keep track of. And weapon accuracy. So, as you see, you go through this table, which is a little bit shorter now, and don't need to worry about bonus actions, speed penalties, being under combat stress, I don't know, having wounds that slow you down. This is way faster. When it comes to defense modifiers, again, movement, it is already dealt with. You have all the defensive and offensive modifiers already included with the speed values, right? Cover, well, we have those markers. And intoxication, you pretty much never count that unless you're really intoxicated. But that, well, I never seen that in my game, so well. So what else? This is pretty much it. All other modifiers from role-playing rules is, well, combat stress, actions, wounds, but you already got that in those macros. So I guess that would be way more comfortable for you now that it's made like that. So let's just sample tokens, right? Let's set everybody up in the formation. Okay. James, get out of here. So this is everything you need to know basically about character roleplay, right? And character combat in roleplay scale. If you thought the combat in Silhouette is somewhat slow because of the initiative, well, it's dealt with. If you have problems keeping track of all the modifiers, well, most of them are dealt with. So the combat should be much faster now. Now that we have said that, it's time to look at tactical rules. And tactical rules come with different set of macros for the machines. Now machines are a completely different story. If you ever played 2nd edition Heavy Gear, it's quite difficult. Not only to overcome your enemy with tactical prowess, so to speak, but also to keep track of many little things at the same time. I'm not saying it's impossible, because I was playing Silhouette 2nd edition Heavy Gear for quite a lot now, but certainly those set of macros will make your games faster, way faster. Alright, so let's get into the big toys. Now, James would be kinda sucky gear pilot if not for his machine, and since he's the Badlander, he have chosen a Crusader. Now I can drop his machine chart just for have some reference. I again choose the background layer and select Crusader card, which I again filled out in Foxit Reader and made a screenshot of, and here I can paste it in, so we can keep track of everything. Maptool has also some writing tools. For instance, let's say his autocannon got hit, and on a critical table it reads he has, I don't know, -1 fire control for it. We can mark it right here, and of course, since it is not also included in macros, we'll need to keep track of that. But this is the only thing, right? We need to keep track of. So no worries here. Let me guide you how does that works. Okay, so let's find James's gear. Here it is. Again, select token layer, select the token you want to have for your machine, and there we have it. As you can see, you can name it Crusader, and again mark it as PC. Now you can see basically it has all the stats of a human. Now how come? Well, it should be a machine, right? Now remember what I've said about changing properties from basic to machines. This is another property group I'll keep track of. Now, what do we have here? Those are quite fancy values we have. Now we can change of all those values. By default, everything is set empty, right? We can edit those properties here, and by that I mean speed and base armor. This is everything we need to edit. Now Walker Combat is 3, Walker Top 5, Secondary Combat 5, Secondary Top 10. What else? Base armor. Base armor is 19, so let's have it here. Now, if you look at those values of light damage, heavy damage, and overkill, it already calculates the current armor value of a gear. So there is nothing you need to worry about really. Armor penalties, yeah. Sensors. By default, we'll leave it at 0, and that's pretty much it. What else we need to change? Here we need to change fire control. If let's say it is a black mamba, it'll have a +1, and in the case of Crusader, which is very heavy gear, we'll give a maneuver penalty of -1. Now we can of course set all those values for attack, pilot, initiative and electronic warfare according to James's character sheet, right? However, I've prepared another set of macros to make it kind of faster. And oh, there you have it. It's already calculated. If you look at this little window we have here under armor, I've entered a value of 19 as its base armor, and already it's all calculated. Heavy armor 38, overkill 57, and this will help us keep track of many things, right? Okay, so in order to edit those values, we can of course enter here, but well, you'll need to remember what each parameter, what each property means, right? Attack, it is attack skill, in this case a gear gunnery. Instead of making different gunnery skills for all the machines, it's easier to just make an attack skill, pilot skill, initiative skill and electronic warfare skill. So that's it. You can edit it, sure, here, but there is a set of macros, again in window options, select campaign, and then there you will have set attack skill value for selected token, set attack mod value, set pilot skill value, set pilot mod value, initiative skill value, and so on and so on. This is just made to make it easier for you not to mess something up, right? So you go from top to bottom, starting with gunnery skill, which in case of James is gear gunnery 2. So value from new value skill 2, attack mod +1, new mod value 1, pilot skill for James is 2, new pilot mod value, it is +2 +1 because of his specialty for Crusader, so it's 3. Initiative skill value, what is his leadership? His leadership is 1. Initiative skill 1. Does he have any influence modifier? Nope. So we leave that. Electronic warfare skill, does he have that? Yes, level 1. Electronic warfare skill value 1, and the mod +1. Now, as you can see, it's all filled accordingly. You don't need to mess something up and, you know, just ruin everything. So if you're dropping in some new gears and equipment, rather than filling them out and you know, skipping something or pressing the wrong button or entering the wrong value somewhere because you haven't noticed, just use the campaign macro window. You can of course close it after you're done. Now we need some macros for this Crusader. Of course, once again, I will upload the macros separately, but you can export the macros from those random, most often or commonly used machines, right? Here's a little cheetah, and she'll be very helpful. Export the macro. Let's name it heavy gear machine macros. Oops. And there we have it. It's everything done. Now let's go back to Crusader. Yes, it's you, beautiful boy. Import set of macros. Heavy gear machine macros. Yes, please. And everything is already imported, right? Now the thing works pretty much the same. Attack rolls are made on attack skill value plus attack modifier. Pilot for defense. This is important. Why I made those two checks, right? Because for piloting for maneuver, when you try to not to dodge or evade being hit, but let's say you jump over something, or you try to climb up the wall and not to lose a grip, you will be given penalties from action bonuses, but not from under attack penalties. Sorry, right? So this is it. Remember that when you defend, always use pilot for defense macro, and when you just maneuver with your gear, always use pilot for maneuver macro. Also, electronic warfare is its own thing. Oh, fumble, lol. Now you have here two kinds of initiative, right? Personal initiative is when you don't have any kind of leader, and the gears are up to themselves, and this is the initiative made based on a pilot skill, and it's always lower than tactical initiative. Now tactical initiative is rolled from the initiative values that we entered, and this sets an initiative for whole squadron. So in case of tactical combat, it's even easier because you just select a squadron leader that will do tactical initiative, and will go after squadron leader and his squadron, right? Activating each gear by the squadron. Now after you've done setting your initiative, you can declare in declaration phase how many bonus actions you take. 1 bonus action, 2, 3, and same thing as being under attack, right? You keep track of everything. And since we've already talked how it works in case of role-playing combat, it works pretty much the same in case of tactical combat. You also, as a gear, will need to use 2 additional things. Facing, which, let me pop up a grid. There we go. This is this table and coordinates. When you pop up a grid, you can see I've set map. You can of course adjust the map, change distance per cell, change pixels per cell, and all the things. You can change the way the hexes are set as you want. You can even change it back to rectangles and squares or whatever. It's up to you. Whoops. Okay. Now, basically, when you press Shift and use a scroll of your mouse, you can set facing of your gear, which is extremely helpful when keeping track of the movement, right? And your arcs of defense, or whether you can shoot someone or not. you're facing, which is very simple. Just press shift and use the scroll. You can look around, take your aim, and really looks marvelously. The next thing is you have the speed modifiers, rather the speed markers. When the gear walks with its primary combat speed, or rather walker combat speed, you'll press this, right, speed walker combat, and this means the top walker combat speed, what am I talking about? Full stop resets these values, and ground combat, of course, is represented by a wheel, and top ground speed is represented by a wheel and 2 arrows. So it's pretty much simple, right? Now again, here how take it damage works. Whenever you beat the threshold of light damage, right, you can see it on the left, this window, right, you take 1 point of damage. This is an indicator that marks you as a damaged unit, so it's easier and visually appealing to keep track of who has been hit and who not, and where to look out. If you remember what was the armor value of Crusader, you'll remember it was 19 for the light damage. Now, as we've taken 1 point of damage, armor points drop from 19 to 18. That means heavy damage drops from 38 to 36, and overkill again drops. If we take heavy damage, we subtract 2 points, and armor points drop from 18 to 16 now. So light damage starts from 16, heavy from 32, and overkill from 48. This is also a small annotation that'll tell you how much damage you've taken. Again, you repair your machine and reverse the damage taken should you make any mistake by pressing this button and setting a negative value. The armor value will always go to the top, the max possible, never above, so no need to worry. Also, if you ever score an overkill, you can simply press destroy button, which will mark the character, rather the machine, as destroyed. Now this is a temporary marker, so don't be afraid. Maybe I'll fix it with some wreckage or something, but for now it'll do. Again, the cover system, it works mostly in skirmish battles, so leave it for that. I just wanted to include the cover mods just for sake of it, to keep the track should you guys wish to play skirmish modes. And of course open test roles, you know what that means. The last but not least will be those sample combat markers, which I just prepared for you to place them on maps, like you've made electronic warfare check and your game master says, well, here's a ping of unidentified contact, or here are command points and tactical command points which you can place around, and let's say this Crusader will take 1 bonus actions and needs another bonus action, so but does not want to take a penalty, so I just Control C this command point, that I've acquired doing initiative roles, and just place it near this fella. After the round is done, just erase it by deleting it. The same goes for under attack, additional markers and bonus action markers. Just to see what's up, right? Again, just to sum it up, what we have here in those macros, what we don't need to worry about. Now, roll gunnery slash attribute plus these modifiers plus fire control is already dealt with, right? Gunnery skill dealt with, fire control, it's automatically added. Weapon accuracy, you need to actually look at your machine record sheet to see if there is any penalty, but those are actually very small modifiers which are really easy to keep track of, so no worry about that. Accuracy rating, again, I had no means to create the macros so far. Again, I am not a specialist, I'm not a programmer, I'm just an amateur, and all I really wanted to give my friends and myself some tools to play heavy gear that we really like. So it's really a pain in the ass to keep track of every weapon and to like assign or make attack macro for every weapon with this with counting those range values, right? It's too much, and I don't really know how to make it. Again, you need to keep track of the range modifiers on yourself, but however, it's really easy actually. If you think about it, it is really easy because when you check for the range, those are pretty much the same mods all the time. Short 0, medium -1, long -2, extreme -3. Same goes for attacker movement and obscurement. What we have here in attack macros are bonus and penalties for bonus actions, for being under fire or under attack in general, for your skill checks, and for fire control modifiers. Now, for defense roll, piloting and maneuver rating of your gear already done for you. All you need to keep track of is defender's movement and arc of attack. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much everything you got here covered. Now here I've prepared some of the sample maps you can create, and this was made actually using MegaMech, because MegaMech although made for Battletech, it has very good map generators and creators and editors. And so here we have sample Badland Town, on which we can play. Of course, we can check all the tiles, and as you can see, I've aligned the map, which is actually a background layer, a picture, right? A picture exported from MegaMech and aligned with the grid. So more or less, of course, aligned, but enough to turn the grid off and have, oopsie, sorry, lol. That was an emergency. Okay, let's realign it. I forget to. Okay, there we have it. Tokens. And there we have it. So this Crusader can really, I don't know, Walker top speed. He has like 5 movement points, 1, 2 because of rough terrain, 3, 4 because of rough terrain, and 5. That's all he did. Need to keep track of how many hexes he moved? Again, right button, show path, there it is. 4 hexes. Or rather 3 hexes, sorry, because how many moved without the one he stands on or the one he began with. Okay, so this is your sample maps. I've prepared quite a lot of them, and it's really easy to do them. Maybe in one tutorial I'll show you how to make those. This is sample Badlands Homestead, right? You can check out this thing from Into the Badlands source book, I guess. Quite a fancy thing. Here, this is a sample jungle, a big map, as you can see. It's actually based on some official maps for some of campaigns that we try to play, right? And this is how we see it. You can run tactical combat with it, no problem. It works just great. And here's some sample semi-urban terrain, like part of a city or city outskirts with some industrial areas, some woodlands, and works really well for some, I don't know, assault mission. Great thing. So with those tools and with what I presented you, you can pretty much run every second edition or maybe even newer or older, I don't know, games of heavy gear you always wanted. So this is my humble contribution, and of course feel free to comment and expand and experiment with those macros, creating something more complex, because as I said, I'm just an amateur. I just felt a strong urge to improve my gameplay experience, and since we already play on Skype and on Maptool and internet, this is a great opportunity for all of you guys out there from different countries that never had a chance to play heavy gear or were always interested in heavy gear but couldn't find anyone to play the war game or role play game with. Well, this is a chance for you to to try it out, to find some group and try it out. So that's it. This has been Yuri. I'm signing out, and of course, long live the Southern Republic.